Ignored by my twin while I struggled alone. You spill secrets when you're drunk, he said, painting me as reckless. After supporting my sister through a crisis, I felt like a side character in my own life. Why can't I just have someone to listen? More betrayal awaits. Summary: I encountered several challenges over the past few years, and what thoughts I had during that time. Context: I am a 24-year-old male and the elder twin, my brother, is 4 minutes younger. I also have an older sister who is 4 years older than I am. I live with my brother in a metropolitan city, while my sister resides about 15 kilometers away. Our parents live far away in our hometown. I am posting this via an anonymous account because my brother is also on Reddit. This is a true account of my experiences over the last 2 to 3 years. In November 2023, while I was living in the city, my sister was working from home in our hometown with our parents. At that time, she had recently gone through a breakup, and our parents were pressuring her to marry someone else, not extreme pressure, just subtle nudges as she was getting older. I was celebrating a festival with some friends, but I hadn't told my parents that I consumed alcohol, so I limited my communication with them that day to keep them from finding out I was intoxicated. Essentially, I was just trying to enjoy myself. Unfortunately, my sister attempted to harm herself due to her circumstances, and I learned of this the following day. I felt terrible for not being there for her when she needed me, so my brother and I immediately booked a flight back home. The next day, we brought her back to the city with us, and I promised to be responsible and support her. She actually began to improve in the following months. However, during that festival day when I had too much to drink, I inadvertently revealed some secrets to strangers which upset my brother and his friends, who were not truly my friends. A bit of backstory: when I moved to the city, most of my college friends were not present, which left me feeling isolated. My brother had many college friends in the area, and we lived with two of his friends, the same ones who became upset with me over my careless revelations. This detail becomes important later. In the following months, I made an effort to be there for my sister and visited her on weekends despite my demanding work schedule. On one particular weekend when I was unable to see her due to my brother's friends, I became very upset and ended up arguing with them. Rather than understanding my frustration, my brother sided with his friends out of fear of losing their friendship, and he tried to defuse the situation by pleading with me to keep quiet and avoid conflict. I was contemplating moving out and living with my sister instead. Fast forward to April 2024. My sister was diagnosed with dengue fever. She was living separately near her office while I had transitioned to a remote job at that time. My job environment was quite poor. The manager was harsh and assigned excessive tasks with no other opportunities for advancement available, so I complied. I did not have any time to upskill and felt trapped. My brother was working at a reputable company and out of pity referred me there, and by coincidence I was hired. I had just submitted my resignation at my previous job when I learned of my sister's condition. I requested a few days off from my cruel manager to be with her, and eventually she had to be hospitalized. I felt extremely helpless witnessing her condition, but thankfully she managed to recover. I did not pressure my brother for assistance during her hospitalization because he claimed to have a heavy workload, which I accepted. After she was discharged, I was relieved, and everything seemed fine until the following Monday when I found myself locked out of my office laptop. I learned that my manager had abruptly ended my 2-month notice period, leaving me without any salary for that time frame. Later, a friend I recounted this incident to expressed pity for me and acknowledged how terrible it must have felt to endure such a situation. However, I did not fully grasp his sentiments, as I struggled to understand emotions at that time. There is a small but significant detail. In early April, one of my flatmates, my brother's friend, mentioned he would be traveling to Japan for work and invited us to join. I genuinely wanted to go, but my financial situation was not stable due to my inadequate job, and I had to book last-minute flights the previous November, so I declined. My brother was very upset with me for this, as he wanted to visit Japan during peak season in April and suspected I had some undisclosed reason for refusing. I genuinely could not afford the trip, but he remained angry with me. While I was at the hospital with my sister, he ignored me. I was unaware that it was due to the travel situation. At that time, he was also pursuing some dates and even lost his virginity. Meanwhile, I was in a helpless state trying to stay positive in the hospital. He claimed he was busy with work. After a few weeks, he shared this information with me upon my return, and I was unsure how to respond. I felt hurt by his dishonesty. It wasn't that I needed him in the hospital, but he should have been truthful with me. He explained he lied because he wanted to share the story with everyone at once, including our friends, rather than telling the same tale repeatedly. I was hurt again, feeling I did not warrant the truth in his eyes. Although I felt bad, I found myself unable to take action. It became a pattern for him to avoid discussing anything with me, choosing instead to wait for everyone else to be present before sharing significant events. I gradually improved, but I still was not ready for dating. I felt a responsibility to support my family. Fast forward to November 2024, and I found myself feeling down as I recalled the previous festival and my absence in supporting my sister. My brother and I were now employed at the same company. He had referred me there. They organized a party for the festival, and although we attended, I could not fully enjoy it due to my melancholic state. Colleagues and my brother were having fun, and afterward they suggested going to a club. Although I wasn't in the mood, I acquiesced. Once there, everyone was dancing and having a good time, but I felt utterly frozen, unable to move, and merely stood on the side drinking. The alcohol intensified my sadness, resulting in further isolation. A girl approached me to ask something, but I responded rudely and ignored her. After the club closed, I informed my brother about my interaction, and he immediately sought out the girl to speak with her. Since we are twins and resemble each other closely, they appeared compatible. Overwhelmed by my sadness, I could no longer cope and left the club to return home. My brother was frustrated with me for walking away, as he had to abandon his chance to speak with her due to my departure. I was taken aback by his lack of concern for me, feeling he was solely focused on himself. I concluded there was no point in confiding in him and chose to carry on with my life. I began to ponder whether having someone to talk to or someone who would listen to my feelings would be beneficial, so I installed Hinge. Initially, things were going smoothly with 2 to 3 matches each week. However, during the first week of December, my grandfather passed away. He had called me in October 2024, which was the last time we spoke, and requested that I come home for the festival. I had declined because I wanted to protect my sister from added trauma. Regrettably, I never got to fulfill his wish to see me one last time. The subsequent weeks were unbearable, as being the eldest son, I had to participate in several rituals and support my father, who was the most affected. It was incredibly challenging, but we made it through. My brother was still dating that girl and had someone to confide in, while I, due to the expectations of my role, felt I had no opportunity to grieve. After some time, I returned to the city and resumed working in the office. I desperately wanted someone to hear my story, but I was banned from Hinge during the first week of January. It hurt that just when I was finally ready for dating, I was cut off from the only means I knew. I was devastated but had not given up. I tried other dating apps, but they were unfruitful. Meanwhile, my brother was genuinely invested in that girl and never offered to listen to me. I later learned that he refrained from inviting me to clubs or parties, believing it would upset me to be alone. However, what truly pained me was the feeling of being ignored. At the very least, he could have asked me if I wanted to join, and if I had declined, that would have been understandable. But to be dismissed without an invitation was hurtful. For 2 consecutive months, I had no one to talk to, and nobody inquired about my well-being despite my efforts to support others. I turned to journaling to express all the unspoken thoughts I had. I also devoted more time to exercising and reading, eliminating everything that provided minor boosts of dopamine, including logging out of Instagram and stopping other habits that were distracting me. My sole focus became working my way out of this misery. Eventually, I learned that the girl had broken up with my brother. During that time, I supported him through his tears and offered emotional assistance. I shared what had helped me, journaling, reading, etc., in hopes of aiding him, but he quickly installed Hinge, received numerous likes and matches, and went on a date within a week. I felt this was profoundly unfair. I lacked the courage to discuss my issues, yet willingly listened to his and provided advice. After about 3 weeks of feeling ignored, I found it difficult to reconcile my feelings. When a new girl subsequently blocked him, he came to me for support. I advised him to take time to heal from his previous relationship, but he did not heed my advice and continued to feel down. Concurrently, my sister was also experiencing difficulties in her dating life. As a result, everyone around me, my brother, his friends, and my sister discussed relationships, leaving me with no input. I usually remained silent. Whenever someone asked how I was doing, my brother would hastily intervene, asserting that life was unfair to me, and then he would begin discussing his own life instead. Eventually, I received a message from a college friend inquiring about my situation. I could no longer contain my emotions and called him. We talked for 4 hours, during which he patiently listened to the struggles I had experienced over the past 6 months. He demonstrated understanding and encouragement, assuring me that I could overcome these challenges. I am thankful for friends like him. Eventually, I mustered the courage to confront my brother, expressing how he had ignored me for the past 6 months while I was at my lowest without any support. He explained he acted that way to avoid hurting me, as his dating life took precedence for him at that time. He thought if he skipped the conversation, it would spare me pain. I told him that it would have certainly upset me, but the deeper hurt lay in his exclusion from all conversations and his failure to invite me to clubs or parties. I felt completely left out. Another factor that heightened my sense of exclusion was that when I attended parties, he would warn everyone that I tended to spill secrets when I was intoxicated, which meant I should not drink. This reputation was discouraging, as it implied I was irresponsible and thoughtless while under the influence, despite the fact that I had made only one mistake, the incident in November 2023, and endeavored to avoid repeating it. Whenever I attempted to engage in conversations, someone would bring this up, making me feel foolish for even trying. He even shared private videos of me being goofy while attempting to smoke a cigarette, expecting me to remain silent. The following day, when I confronted him about doing the same thing again, sharing my clips on WhatsApp, he claimed he was intoxicated and unaware it would hurt me. I did not receive such leniency when I made my mistake. Instead, I was immediately blamed for it. Conversing with him grew increasingly difficult, and my confidence plummeted. Whenever I expressed this to him, he would argue that he was merely trying to be the main character in his story and was oblivious to how his actions were hurting me. He assured me he would change his behavior, but at this point I had grown too weary to rely on him. At times, I felt like running away. It was not financial constraints that held me back, but the absence of answers I sought. Whenever I pushed people too hard, they would leave me, and my brother even indicated that referring me to his company was a mistake. This realization stung deeply, but I am resolved to change my situation. I understand that everyone aspires to navigate their own lives and be the protagonist in their own stories, but I refuse to be a mere supporting character in my life. Expecting that I have no problems simply because no one has ever provided a safe space for me to express them is an unfair assessment. Judging that my life is sorted out simply because others have it tougher is not what I needed to hear. I still have my own life to live and face my own challenges, not those of others. I am not defeated and intend for this to be the last time I allow anyone to walk over me. I will continue to assist others because I do not want anyone to endure what I have felt. Story 2. After 8.5 years, my fiancée dropped a bombshell. She's bisexual and wants a break. I fell out of love with you, she said, leaving me shattered. Now, as I struggle for a fresh start and try to co-parent with her, is there a chance to win her back? Hello, back when I was in high school, I used to use BlackBerry Messenger, and that is how I met her. We were friends on BlackBerry Messenger for about 2 or 3 years before we decided to meet in person, as we lived in different cities at that time. During that period, I was consistently dating someone. I say dating because it was high school and it was not as serious as this relationship. Throughout that time, she was the person I confided in regarding all my romantic troubles. She was also dating someone at that time. However, after about a week of seeing each other in person, she broke up with him to be with me. The only time we would see each other was when I visited my father's house on the weekends. My brother's father, should I call him my stepdad? I have never referred to him as that in my life, and it makes me feel uncomfortable, to be honest, was abusive to everyone in the house, which meant I was not allowed out much. During the summer of that year, 2014, while I was dating her, my mother had him arrested while he was sleeping. I finally told my mother about her that summer, and my mother treated her as if she were her own daughter. We planned a day out with my family and hers. Her mother met my mother, and so on. We both lost our virginity to each other that same summer. My mother permitted her to spend the night. At that time, her mother was not very happy about it during the first few occasions, which is completely understandable as we were just 15 and 16. One day we thought it would be a great idea to get matching tattoos. I got a K with a crown and she got a Q with a crown on our hands. I cannot recall the exact timeline of this, but I do know that she had to sign for me because I was underage. Anyway, she completed high school, and by this point she basically lived at my house. She would go to work and be home by the time I finished school. I needed to take a few extra classes, so I decided to enroll in an adult school near her actual residence. As a result, I ended up living with them instead. We both attempted college twice, but neither of us succeeded. Fast forward to 2020, I proposed to her and she accepted. By this time, everyone, including friends and family, admired our relationship. We were inseparable even back when we were young, and people would often comment, "Oh, you two are perfect for each other," and so on. We attended college together and even worked together. In 2021, we discovered she was pregnant. We were informed by doctors that she would not be able to conceive. For any females reading this, do not always trust your doctor. The following year, the baby was born. Honestly, we were never actively trying to conceive. However, since she was believed to be unable to get pregnant, I sometimes acted as if we were safe. By this point, we were 7 years into our relationship and had used protection probably only twice. Therefore, we both thought we were fine. During the summer when the baby was born, she was on maternity leave while I continued to work. She would drive me to work since I did not have my license at that time. I obtained it but crashed her mother's car, completely totaling it the same day, so I was afraid to drive. Many of my colleagues were also her friends, so we would host them over almost every day while the baby was asleep. We did activities like playing Uno, smoking marijuana, and playing Foursquare at the park, among others. There were about 10 to 15 of us. As the manager of the department, I invited anyone I spoke to at work. While she was on maternity leave, we had a new employee, whom we will refer to as Emily, female, 21 years old, I think. Emily was invited frequently and always showed up. As summer came to an end, we eventually began inviting only Emily over. My fiancé and I planned a trip out of town with our friends who were also engaged. That is when I started to sense something was off. My male friend and I would take care of the baby while the girls engaged in activities such as go-karting or getting food, and we would switch duties. However, I noticed that throughout that trip she was acting very distant. When we returned home, I asked her if everything was okay and if she still loved me. She affirmed that she did. She and Emily were hanging out a lot, often excluding me from their plans. I tried to involve myself, but she would immediately dismiss the suggestion. Sometimes she would leave me at home with the baby until 5 in the morning while she was out with Emily. One morning, she drove me to work and texted me saying we needed to talk about something. She revealed that she was bisexual and wanted to take a break from our relationship. I had no idea about this. Mind you, I had known this girl for 10 years and that had never crossed my mind until she mentioned it. That day, my entire life turned upside down. I was vomiting at work, unsure if it was due to anxiety or something else. I do not believe she would cheat on me, and she assured me she did not. Nevertheless, she also told me she had fallen out of love with me. When I returned home from work, I could not bear to look at her without bursting into tears. I did not want to sleep with her that night, so I ended up on the floor of the baby's room, sobbing uncontrollably while looking through old pictures of the three of us. She caught me doing that and apologized. She cried as well. I did not sleep that night. She was going to drive me to work, but at that point, I was just angry at the world. I walked for about 3 to 4 hours to work. While I was walking, I told my mother what happened and tried to convince her that everything would be okay. At this point, my fiancé wanted me out of the house. With zero sleep, I worked the entire shift. A few days went by, and she became upset that I was still there, prompting her to have my mother come pick me up. I was not eating for weeks and did nothing but cry on the couch and text her about how much I loved her and how sorry I was. I did not contribute to the relationship as I should have, but we can discuss that later. The doctor prescribed me medication. I cannot recall what it was, and I never took them, and wrote me a sick leave note. I meant to return to work, but it was challenging since I had no car and I was Emily's department manager. About a month after we broke up, she and Emily began dating. I had anticipated this as Emily was openly bisexual. It genuinely hurt that it only took a month, but my fiancé told me she had been contemplating breaking up even before the engagement. Once I could function normally, I started applying for new jobs, but with no luck. Canada, if you know, you know. She listed all the things I had done wrong in our relationship. She wanted more assistance with the baby and desired me to spend more time with her. I believe my low sex drive may have contributed to the issues as well, even though she never mentioned it. During the summer when we had our friends over, she had brought up needing more help and more quality time with her. However, we continued inviting people over and I assumed everything was fine. To be honest, I spent a lot of time gaming when we did not have friends over after I finished work. However, work stressed me out constantly as we were short-staffed, and as a department manager, they expected a lot from me. This was the pattern throughout our entire relationship. She would watch Netflix or do her own thing on her phone while I played games. By bedtime, we would occasionally watch a show and then go to sleep. I would say I initiated intimacy 98% of the time. I wanted it all the time. For her, perhaps once a month at most. This definitely was not the case when we were teenagers, though, laughing out loud. Anyway, when I reflect on everything, I realize how she may have felt unappreciated or unloved. However, that was never my intention. I never stopped loving or appreciating her, but I may have stopped showing her, which likely led to this breakup. She stated that if I had done my part, we would still be together. Fast forward to now, I am still unemployed. I applied to the government for a free year of college, but my application did not go through. They only accept specific courses, and the one I want to take is not on that list. By the way, they took almost a year to inform me of this. They neither accepted nor denied my application but left it hanging. Regarding work, I have been trying to find a job again but have been unsuccessful. I decided to take out another loan for school. However, I need to get accepted into the course in the loan, and I cannot pay the application fee until next month. In any case, co-parenting has been going well, so that is good. The baby comes over every weekend. For the longest time, I could not even look at her when she dropped him off. I told her right at the beginning of the breakup that I was sorry, but please only speak to me about the baby and avoid all other conversations. Over the last few weeks, I have been talking to her more than I used to, and I am doing my best to be cordial while managing my feelings for her. She is all I have known in terms of an actual relationship. I do not see her as a friend, and I doubt I ever will. I have engaged with others online in the past, but nothing compares to the feelings I have for her. On Monday, I received a message from her which was forwarded from my mother. My mother was basically asking her for another grandchild. I responded with, "Who? My own ex-fiancé does not even want me." Before I continue, I believe she and Emily broke up. I do not know why or when, but she is no longer mentioned in any of her social media bios. She informed me that she wanted me to step up and mentioned that she had not seen any changes in me. Keep in mind that we have maintained minimal communication unless it pertains to the baby. I explained to her that I am still actively seeking work and trying to enroll in school, and it bothers me that I cannot provide more help with the baby. She admitted that she approached everything incorrectly and acknowledged a lack of communication, but she also expressed that she wanted to see changes in me. I told her it was interesting that she was bringing this up because just the week prior, I had a dream in which everything was perfect between us. However, that is clearly not the case. She responded by stating that love does not disappear after 8.5 years. This is where I need advice. Since we broke up, I honestly have not wished her a happy birthday or holiday. I recognize that this might be a terrible thing on my part. However, I have been in pain since the breakup. even when I attempt to distract myself from thoughts of her. I retrieved the engagement ring early on out of spite. That being said, knowing she seems somewhat open to the idea of reconciling, I am more willing to demonstrate to her that I genuinely love and care for her. Yesterday, I spent several hours trying to find her engagement ring, but unfortunately to no avail. The reason I was searching for it is that Mother's Day is approaching. I intended to print out several photos of the three of us and write a two-part letter. The first letter would acknowledge my faults in the relationship, explaining that I have made changes since then. All this time without her has made me regret not spending more time with her, and I would trade everything in the world to have that picture-perfect family we both desired this week. Regarding helping with the baby, I do everything I should be doing when he is here and try my best when he is not. Again, I would trade the whole world to experience parenting alongside the person I love and ensure our baby is happy. Furthermore, the first letter would express my true appreciation for her. It might not seem that way because I have never said it openly since the breakup. However, she has done so much for me and our child. This is also something I realized I failed to do during our relationship, genuinely appreciate her as a person. Obviously, she wishes I were working or in school, but again, these are things I am still striving to improve. I do not want to sit at home all day while I have a child I cannot support. It pains me every single day. To summarize the first letter, I would explain the things I am working on and the lessons I have learned over the years. I believe I have had ample time to reflect on everything. I intended to place all of this in a jewelry box, with the first letter at the top, followed by cutout photos, then the second letter. I planned to put the ring at the very bottom of the box and have the second letter above it. The second letter was meant to serve as a reminder that I am still present and that it is not too late for us to work things out if she is open to it. I feel that all these issues could be resolved through communication. I also hope to include my acceptance letter in the box to demonstrate that I am genuinely trying, although I have not decided where to place it yet. Additionally, I hope to find the ring. So finally, my question is, do you all think this is a good idea, or do you have any other suggestions to help save this relationship? Story 3. Caught in a bind at 35, I thought I was safe dating a 41-year-old avoidant. I'll always choose my health over you, he said, disregarding my boundary about an old flame only to later promise marriage. Now I'm left questioning if he'll ever change. Can this love survive? I am naturally a secure partner. However, I became involved in a casual relationship with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, even though I was not seeking anything serious. This was primarily because I had ended an engagement about 7 months earlier, and I wanted to spend time alone to reflect, as I felt unprepared for a serious relationship after hurting my former partner. I also held myself partially accountable for that situation because I was uncertain if I had my own issues. After engaging in self-reflection to understand attachment styles, I realized that my sense of disconnect stemmed from his high level of anxiety. Despite my consistent attempts to set boundaries, he tended to push against them. I cared about him, however, some of those boundaries impacted my personal time with my children, and I believed that I still required that personal connection, which was not to be undermined by his need for attention. Therefore, I felt justified in ending that relationship. Nonetheless, I had not done the necessary work on myself before this relationship, and I did not want to hurt anyone else. Engaging in this situation with someone who has an avoidant attachment style felt safe, as I did not feel pressured to engage beyond my comfort zone, and I believed it could remain non-committal. After a year, my feelings deepened and I expressed them to him. I made it clear that if he was not on the same page, we needed to part ways. He assured me that he was, and we began officially dating. I did notice certain behaviors that felt off and brought them up. He made adjustments for a time, and he truly did change in many ways. Given that he was 36 and had never had a genuine long-term relationship, I was patient. My expectations were minimal, I only desired the basics. I informed him from the start that I would not date someone for 5 years without any steps toward marriage. He agreed, and we discussed this intermittently at my request to ensure we were aligned in our goals. The issue is that he may have grown comfortable during that phase, feeling assured that I would not pressure him, which allowed him to get closer while remaining at a distance regarding commitments. Around the 4th year, I began to mention the topic of marriage more frequently and asked for his thoughts and concerns. He expressed a few concerns. His job might require relocation, and I had established from the beginning a boundary that I would not move my children away from their dad, who has always been actively involved in their lives. I set this boundary early in our relationship and never altered it. My boyfriend asked me about the type of rings I like, and around Christmas, we had an argument because he decided to spend his entire time off work in a different state with his family. He knew I would not be able to see him during that period, as I wanted to spend Christmas with my children and they also wished to see their father. This has been a recurring issue during the Christmas season. I did not require an excessive amount of time, only some communication and reassurance that some of his time off would be prioritized to spend with me. He failed to provide reassurance or communicate that his plan was to be away the entire time until 3 days before his break. During the holiday season, we typically spend around 4 to 5 hours together late at night due to his extremely demanding work schedule. I am okay with this arrangement and manage my own activities, but I do require communication and for my partner to prioritize our connection at some point. During that argument, he revealed that he had purchased a ring, and I asked him not to give it to me at that moment, as this was a significant issue that needed resolution before I could make an informed decision. He agreed. 3 months later, I discovered that he had been in contact with a former hookup throughout our relationship. They frequently disrespected our relationship by engaging in conversations that suggested they still had feelings for one another. Ultimately, he downplayed our relationship to her, and when I inquired about their history months earlier, he misled me, claiming they had never dated, never hooked up, and had no romantic connection, only that they were college friends and that she was married. I accepted this at face value and never questioned it again. I now understand that this was a deactivating strategy for him, but it was the dishonesty that posed a problem for me. I ended the relationship, but afterward I experienced a downward spiral. I struggled to trust myself and could not comprehend how I allowed myself to become emotionally involved with someone I loved deeply and considered a best friend, even as he actively disrespected me. It caused me to question many other aspects of my life. We have spent months apart since then. I have sought therapy, read a book to understand attachment styles, exercised, tried new hobbies, made new friends, and focused on my relationship with God, among other things. During this time, I spoke with him numerous times and ultimately I still love him. I genuinely thought he was my person. However, over the past 6 months, I have developed anxious tendencies. It has felt overwhelming. Yet I believe I am starting to regain some stability in recent weeks. We have discussed the possibility of reconciling and what that might entail. I have worked with my therapist to establish some boundaries that he has agreed to, but I still perceive a disconnect in our communication. Conversation. Me, are you willing to send a text that thoroughly outlines the reasons why you want to cut things off so that you can pursue a healthier relationship? He claims he has not spoken to her in a long time, but a boundary for me is that he must completely end that relationship by sending her a text that I can see with no doors left open. Him, I understand the reasons and I will do it. However, I feel it is unfair that I have to end a long-term friendship. Me, this friendship has served as a deactivating strategy for you because it is non-committal. It requires very little from you. You receive validation and an escape from our true relationship. She doesn't need anything from you because she receives it from her husband, and it has disrespected me for years. You need to decide which relationship is more important. If this friendship doesn't change, it will affect your future relationships. Furthermore, if you don't disclose the past with her up front, you'll always wonder if your partner will find out and leave. What will happen if her husband finds out? He has cancer, which is why I chose not to inform him as it could worsen his health. She lives in a different state, so the concern of them seeing each other was minimal. She will likely depend on you for the things she asks of him. Now that she is in a vulnerable position, you'll need to find a new deactivating strategy, or she might cut ties with you. Side note not mentioned, it challenges your morals and integrity. Do you consider that important? Him, I understand the reasons and agree with them. Me, if you have a suggestion that helps both of us feel comfortable, I am open to it. However, at present, this is how I feel safe. I dislike this situation and would never ask a partner to sever friendships, but this has gone too far and both of you are in the wrong. You must fully commit to a choice that you genuinely want. If it is her, then choose her completely. I am just unwilling to be in a situation where I cannot trust. Him, I will have to consider whether there is a way for both of us to feel comfortable, but I will do that if not. Me, are you fully committed to making this work? Him, oh yes. Me, I sense that our attitudes toward this are different. I feel hopeful, I believe it will succeed, and I want it to succeed. It seems like you are worried that it won't work. You appear to be keeping it at a distance, and you are not entirely hopeful but rather waiting to see. Him, yes, I think that is accurate. I believe we cannot know if it will work until we attempt therapy and other measures. Me, are you prepared to do the homework? Is the goal to make this work? Him, oh yes. Me, then it will work. The goal is to create a secure attachment, so if we share that goal and are willing to put in the effort, we will be successful. Love is like that. It is a choice, not merely a feeling. When feelings wane, the choice remains. Would you agree with that? Him, oh yes. Me, why do you feel the need to separate your personal health and prioritize that over mental health and working through our relationship? Him, it is not the same issue. If I am not healthy, it can affect every other aspect of my life. Me, okay, but why do you believe one is more important than the other? Both should carry equal weight because mental health can affect physical health, and that is already occurring. He suppresses emotions and has had a notably high heart rate but does not connect the two. Him, absolutely, but I have to prioritize my physical health above all else, and it is not the same as mental health. Me, scientifically, it is. Your mental health can impact physical health, and physical health can affect mental well-being. Our relationship has created mental health challenges for both of us. Is it not equally important when it also affects your physical health? Him, no, those are different matters. This is when frustration emerged. He believes I am trying to tell him that he is wrong and dictate the conversation. Me, I'm not saying you are wrong. I am trying to comprehend why you view them as separate and why you feel the need to prioritize physical well-being over mental health. Is it because that includes me? Him, no, this is my perspective. I feel it is separate and I need it to be my main priority. Your children are your top priority and my health is mine. Me, my children are not involved in the process of healing. There are various factors that take precedence at different appropriate times. In regard to my personal growth, I see both as equal because each affects my well-being. As I understand it, and please correct me if I am wrong, you require this separation for your own autonomy to confirm that you are distinct from me, and that is more significant. However, I recognize that, in a relationship, our health affects each other's physical well-being as well, and the two are not separate. For you as an avoidant, you need this disconnection and value it more, even if it is strictly a mental aspect. For me, they all hold equal weight. At some point, you must also recognize that my happiness will impact your happiness, which ultimately affects both your physical and mental health. It is all part of a cohesive system that cannot be separated, and it does not work if one person's needs are prioritized over the other. He largely agreed with this perspective, but we had to end our phone call so he could attend to work-related matters. I know this is lengthy, but does anyone have experience with this situation, and is there hope for reconciliation? Has anyone witnessed an avoidant individual change and become secure, or are their boundaries so rigid that the only transformation will be my mental health while I work on this, if it isn't equally prioritized? It is exceedingly challenging to gain clear insights from someone with an avoidant attachment style. Please refrain from criticizing my decision to possibly work toward a resolution. I require constructive feedback, not judgment. You do not fully understand the intricacies of this relationship and the genuine friendship that existed. Story 4. At 21, I'm drowning in a relationship with my boyfriend, 22, who's more committed to gaming than to us. I'm trying to better myself, I say, but he responds, I need time. After 2 years of me paying for everything and feeling alone, I'm left wondering, is love enough to change him? Welcome to my complicated situation. I apologize for any grammatical errors in advance. I need to express what is on my mind and in my heart. I am so overwhelmed, I feel stuck. I, a 21-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, a 22-year-old male, for almost 2 years as of June, and we have known each other since the 8th grade. We have always been great friends and have gotten along well, but when we first began dating, everything was fantastic. Initially, it was exciting and fun, but now it is not. I mean that we literally do not do anything anymore, and he does not care at all about how I feel regarding that or about my wants or needs in this regard. He prefers to stay at home and play video games all day. He lacks motivation to do anything. For instance, I have been asking him to go 50-50 with me for months on a substantial number of things, one of which is planning dates and requesting that he plan one for a change. Every time I have brought this up for almost a year since we moved in, this upcoming July, by the way, I have talked to him about establishing monthly date nights where we alternate who plans and takes care of them. However, he continually resists this, providing every excuse imaginable and endlessly stonewalling me. Time management and money are his primary excuses. Since we both, well, I primarily work a night shift job at a laboratory, and he, despite having a welding certification, is working a low-paying pizza job. Now, I am not trying to judge. At first, I did not mind because he was having a hard time finding a job after moving from his place to mine, so we found him one nearby that he can walk to since he does not have a car. However, he could earn more, yet he is actively choosing not to, and he does not work many hours at all. I work full-time, 3 days a week with 12-hour shifts, plus overtime on other days as I like to pick up extra shifts some weeks. He works full-time, but at a pizza job, he is barely making anything and only works from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. That is barely 5 hours, and his schedule is all over the place. Some weeks he works only 2 to 3 days, while others he may work 4 to 5. Still, he could have a welding job, earn more money, have a better schedule, and have a set routine, yet he is actively choosing not to. He has had 2 welding jobs, one before we started dating and one during our relationship. He quit both, and for months he has been saying he needs more money and that things are hard. Yet he refuses to return and find another welding job, despite saying he loves and is passionate about it. Regarding time management, most weeks I literally have 4 days off. I would also like to mention that since I got this new job at the laboratory, I used to work in a clinical setting with a 9 to 5 schedule 5 days a week. He has had every opportunity to return to welding since I literally have 4 days off, and I have offered him my car if he wanted to pursue that dream and get a welding job. I would be happy to help him figure it out if it meant he could do something he enjoyed, instead of working at a pizza shop. He has some days off with me, so I fail to understand what is preventing him from pursuing this, other than the fact that he simply does not want to. He says these things to silence me. I would also like to note that he struggles with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and is not on medication, but he wants to be. However, he is not making the effort to manage it, which contributes to his time management issues, but he will not take care of it. I do not want to nag. I do not want to argue, but I am out there trying to better myself and earn my money while he can barely pay his share of rent and feed his nicotine addiction. I do not mind contributing to expenses as I believe we should split the costs, but I feel like I am paying for everything in this relationship. I have covered all the dates, meals, drinks, everything. Yet he cannot be bothered to plan a date and take me out for 2 to 3 hours every few months, while he spends money on food delivery almost every single day. I am simply tired of feeling alone in this relationship and I desire more, but I do not believe he will change. I do not want to break up as I genuinely love him. He does not treat me terribly, but he simply does not want to grow at all. I do not know what else to do other than to endure this situation and hope he changes as I improve myself or to just leave. My other issues also stem from these things. For instance, last year he did not get me anything for Valentine's Day or my birthday while I bought him gifts. At the time, I did not mind as much because he was struggling while living with two difficult roommates and rent was high, so I understood why he was having a hard time. He was also working another pizza job previously but insisted he wanted a welding job, which he still claims to want. I would also like to mention that I helped pay for food when he needed it, and I drove every weekend until my transmission started acting up to visit him. I eventually had to beg him to start taking the train to see me because it was too hard on my car to travel an hour each way every weekend. The drive was tough, and my car is older. However, I was willing to put in more effort back then because I understood his struggles and recognized that he does not have a supportive family like I do. His family is dysfunctional, and his mother is quite difficult, to put it mildly. This year he did get me something for Valentine's Day, but it was delivered late, and he asked if I wanted it or if he should save it for my birthday, which really upset me. I was not angry about it being late. I just wanted him to show me that he actually cares about me and means what he says about wanting a future with me. In the future, I want a house, I want children, I want a life. We cannot have a life if I am the only one doing everything, and I refuse to be the only one holding everything together. I cannot do it all, and I deserve to be cared for as well. I deserve to be treated kindly. I am not materialistic. I am not asking for 5-star dinner dates, fur coats, or diamond rings, but can we go to a movie? Can we go bowling, spend time at a bar, take a walk in the park? Can he make me a card telling me how much he loves me? Can he buy me some candy or something? Literally anything at all. It makes me feel as though I am not worth the effort or his hard-earned money, or that he is ashamed of me and does not want to be seen in public with me. I simply want us to reach a point where we can have fun and be stable, especially since I want a future and all the things I have mentioned. I do not understand why this is not important to him, nor do I comprehend why he cannot realize why issues like these matter to me and why they should matter to him. It is reaching a point where I am questioning if it is better on the other side, and I am becoming resentful towards him. I resent him for not pursuing a welding job. I resent him for not trying to improve himself. I resent him for making me cover everything and handle all responsibilities. I am experiencing anger toward everything right now. It is also getting to a point where I dread being around him. There is no valid reason for him to not grow and get his life together with me. He is also postponing things excessively. For example, his driver's license needed to be renewed around his birthday last year, but he took forever to address that and has still not bothered to get his new one from the Department of Motor Vehicles. His temporary license expired on March 11, which I was unaware of until he mentioned it, and he drove my car several times with an expired temporary license, which is absolutely unacceptable. He also delayed filing his taxes last year until the very last day of his extension, and he is doing the same thing this year by requesting yet another extension instead of taking care of it. I recognize that I am very upset and may sound hostile right now, but I do not want to hurt him. I love him deeply. There is nothing I would not do for this man because I love him immensely. I do not want to break up, and if we were to part ways, it would hurt both of us. I know he loves me and I truly love him, but I do not know how much longer I can continue to feel this way and do this alone. I no longer want to feel like I am speaking to a brick wall. Furthermore, I dread the awkwardness of separating, such as what would happen with our PlayStation 5 that I pay for monthly but which he said he would share the cost of, but has not contributed in the 5 months we have owned it. We technically split the cost of the console, so I do not want to fight over that, nor do I want to deal with moving out and possibly trying to maintain our friendship, but I am confused and overwhelmed. I have never lived with anyone before. I do not know how to navigate the situation. I have never been in a relationship this serious before. I have had serious relationships, but none that I believed could lead to a future or were this profound. There are simply so many unknown factors, and I have no idea how to resolve this or if it is even my responsibility anymore. I feel as if I am genuinely going insane, and I increasingly feel trapped. In summary, my boyfriend makes no effort in our relationship, and after numerous discussions about our issues, I am questioning whether this is worth trying for any longer and contemplating a breakup.